What's up, everybody? It's Jared with Capture the Magic, and there's a lot that's been said about Pixar and Disney's animation, especially on the movie side, as recent box office success has been a little hit and miss, you could say. They have had some wins with Inside Out 2, Moana 2, obviously most of those being sequels, and one of the complaints is that Disney has not been producing original movies. There are a lot of sequels, a lot of live-action remakes, and Elio recently just came out in the theaters and is the worst performing box office that Pixar has ever seen. And it seems that Pixar is not really happy about this. We have an article here from WWNT that is called Stop Complaining, as Pixar urges public to view Elio in theaters with a popular TikTok trend. So I think this is kind of interesting that Pixar is, of course, taking this approach, which has been Disney's MO recently, of any time that a movie or a show does not get, praised or have, amazing reviews, they turn around and blame the audience and say it's their fault that it didn't perform well or it was review bombed on the negative side, and that's why, you're not seeing the reviews, the stellar reviews of a movie or a show. They say this popular new trend has TikTok users looking away from their cameras, I don't know why, and spilling truths that others may not want to hear. I hate TikTok trends. Just make a video. The official Pixar account has jumped on that trend, targeting those who complain about Disney about not creating original stories in favor of live-action remakes or sequels.
Oh, jeez.
All right, let's take a look at this and see what they have to say.
Stop complaining that Disney doesn't make original stories if you don't show up to movie theaters and support them in the first place. Who said that? Oh my gosh. I thought I was the only one in my car. But anyways, there's a new original story. Look at that. From Disney Pixar called Elio. You should go ahead and support it. It comes out this Friday. So yeah, you should go to movie theaters. Thank you.
Well, there it is.
So in typical Disney fashion, it's going after the audience a bit here. Not in a very aggressive way, I will say. But now, just because Disney releases and creates an original movie does not mean that the audience is just going to come. Part of your job with creating shows and movies is to market it and convince the audience that this is something that they want to see. And the reason that sequels have done better over the years is because somebody before them who was more talented, John Lasseter, more than likely when we talk about Pixar, created stories, timeless stories, that people got invested in. And when you do sequels on that, you're much more likely to have a lot of that audience show up because you've created a universe previously that people have bought into. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't create something original that people will also hop onto and really enjoy. But it's also your responsibility to have creatives in charge that are able to create new stories and experiences that resonate with audiences. Audiences do want original stories, but they want good original stories.
Dare you?
I haven't seen Elio, so I can't speak to how good that movie is, but the marketing on that movie was a mess. Like, until recently, when we just saw the previews for it, I couldn't tell you what Elio was about. And I have two kids in the age range that would want to go see Elio, and neither one of them were interested in seeing it. They were much more interested in seeing How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch. And yeah, those are live-action remakes, but also those are movies. Lilo and Stitch, not nearly as good as How to Train Your Dragon, as How to Train Your Dragon is by far the best live-action remake movie I have ever seen. But these are well-told stories that resonate with audiences. You can do this with new stories. It's harder to do. This is also why in the theme parks, they do everything based off an IP, because you have an existing audience that's already aware of this product, and the thinking there is they're much more likely to come to the theme parks to check it out because they're aware of it, instead of creating a brand new attraction that you would have to then market and basically convince people that this is something that they want to see. But obviously these things can work. I mean, we see all the time original movies that audiences do enjoy. But for the most part, lately, they have not been coming from major studios. And I think when you're talking about Disney and Pixar, they have had a major drain of talent leave the company. John Lasseter is not at Pixar anymore. And clearly, Pixar has been struggling since John Lasseter left. In recent years, you've had Turning Red, you've had Elemental, you've had Onward, you've had Lightyear, and you've had movies like Soul that have come out that have not performed well at the box office. Now, I understand that some of this, people are going to point to COVID, and they're going to point to, Disney Plus, or the movies are good. And I'm not talking about how good these movies are, although I will say Turning Red was a terrible movie. I don't understand why anybody would like that movie, but I'm sure that some people do.
This is terrible. Terrible.
But the point is, It is not the audience's job to go support you just because you come out with a new original movie. That's not how this works. It is your job to create a product that people want and present it to them in a way that they're going to want to go check it out, and then they go see it. That is the way that this works. It is not on the responsibility of the audience to go support Disney and Pixar just because they have an original movie. And honestly, I'm tired of seeing this from Disney. They do this with Star Wars. They do this with Marvel. Anytime something comes out and it doesn't get rave reviews, they immediately turn on the fan base and attack them and say the movie's being review bombed. You're seeing this currently with Ironheart. I watched 5 minutes of it. I haven't been able to get past 5 minutes thus far, so I can't speak to the rest of the show. But from what I've seen, it is not a good show. And of course, you're seeing people saying it's being review bombed and people are hating on it for this reason or that reason. But Disney has decided over the years that this is the motto they're going to take. They're going to take this approach where if they present something to the audience and they don't like it, they're just going to attack the audience instead of looking inward and saying, maybe we're not telling good stories. Maybe we're not making things up to the level of what Pixar has done in the past and what Star Wars has been in the past or what Marvel has been known for. But instead, it's just this whole thinking that we have made great things no matter what, and it's your fault if you don't like it. So even though this TikTok video wasn't really aggressive, it still is passive aggressive in that people have been complaining that Disney isn't making original content, which they have been making some, but it hasn't been good. But they are in this mode of making live action remakes and sequels upon sequels. We're probably going to have Toy Story 95 and Frozen 7 or whatever it's going to be. I come from a sports background. You can play any game of a sport and there's never a perfect game. You will always go back and look at game tape and see all the things that you did wrong and ways in which you can improve. So even if you have a great movie, you could look at that and say, what are some things here that we could have actually done better so that we can do better the next time? And if you come out with a dud, it's much better on you to sit there and say, what went wrong with this? What was the issue? And what can we do to prevent this? And I think just as a company, Disney is never going to improve until they adopt that, until they quit blaming the fans for not supporting things as if it's their responsibility to pay our hard-earned money to them just because they come out with an original movie or show. And I don't believe in having just undying loyalty to any brand or company if they're not providing you with content, services, or products that are up to the level that you expect. And if they present you with one of these products or services that are not up to your level that you want and you reject it, it is not your fault. It is their fault. And then you get people that will comment about, well, it didn't do well for this reason and that. Everything outside of the movie or show itself, everything that they can pick apart about an actor or some other ancillary thing they can throw into it as the reason as to why it's being hated on. But when something is good, it does well and gets positive reviews. There are original movies that constantly do well, a lot of times not coming from mainstream outlets. A lot of times these are independent outlets creating things. How do you explain Bluey catching on with audiences? That was not a known thing before 5-6 years ago. Obviously, that has struck a chord with people and developed a massive audience for that. Same thing goes for anything that Disney or any other studio wants to make. That can clearly happen if you make something that resonates with audiences, has a message they enjoy, and a story that they like. It is definitely possible. So just because you have an original movie that you marketed badly, that nobody knew what it was about, and nothing that people saw about it made them want to go to the theaters to check it out, and not to mention your past performances are going to affect this. So when you've made bad movies in the past, you do have more hurdles to go over to get audiences to trust you again. So people are not going to go see these movies just because it's a Disney movie or just because it's a Pixar movie. You are going to have to make something that resonates with audiences. So that is on you to do, Disney. That is not on the audience just to give you money just because you have an original product. This whole mindset that Disney's adopted about attacking the fan base every single time something comes out, it doesn't get rave reviews, and blaming the audience. It is the most tiresome thing to see this continually. I think Disney would be much better off to just adopt more of a humble approach to this. And if something they release doesn't do well, figure out why it didn't do well. Was your marketing bad? And from what I've heard about Elio, this movie was rewritten 20 different times, had a bunch of people involved with it. Basically a movie by committee. And maybe figure out what is going on at Pixar and some of the things that you're doing. And even considering on Disney Plus, the #1 show on Disney Plus is not even something Disney makes. It's Bluey. So maybe look at Bluey. What are the things Bluey is doing well that you could make your own way, do your own version of that, or take the lessons from that show and apply it to other things. You can also do this with competitors. What other movies have done really well? What other movies are getting rave reviews? And figure out what elements of those stories that are being told could you put into your shows and movies to do better, instead of wasting your time attacking the fan base, because obviously this isn't working, because attacking the fan base is not going to make people want to go spend money with you. It's just going to basically anger people. Whenever you don't like a movie for legitimate reasons, you're basically accused of all sorts of things because you didn't like a certain movie. And while this one isn't the most aggressive one we've seen, it's still under the Pixar name on TikTok of going on this trend of going after audiences if they don't go see something that they've made. And I think that is just a losing plan, and all it's doing is creating animosity towards your brand. So I'm not surprised to see this. I've wondered for a long time how long they would continue to do this. So I would say make better products, market them better, and maybe your movies and shows will perform better. Either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of theme parks and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about this? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.